Pinterest boards are the foundation of Pinterest, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand how Pinterest boards work or they're using them completely wrong. So in today's video, I want to take a step back and explain what a Pinterest board is, what they show up like inside of Pinterest, how to create a Pinterest board, and of course, how to optimize your Pinterest board using SEO so that you can drive more engagement, outbound clicks, and build your brand. And spoiler, we'll even be taking a peek behind some of my top performing pin boards here. As you see, I have a couple that are getting 500,000 impressions in the last 30 days. So I want to talk about how I'm doing that and kind of learn some lessons from those. So we're going to be jumping in all of that today. So buckle up. Now, before we jump in, I do have to mention that this video is in partnership with Pinterest. So thank you, Pinterest, for supporting the channel. Let's jump right in. Okay, so let's first off quickly cover what a Pinterest board is. Basically, a Pinterest board is a way for you to organize all of your pins into a single group. If we take my profile right here, you can see I have lots of different boards. I have my all pins right here, and then I have toddler house bed ideas, and then I have 4-hour home improvement board, and then I have my favorite tools, cool garage, easy home improvement, sneaker board. So you can see I have lots of different boards inside of here. You can see some of these are secret boards because they aren't public facing to a lot of you. So if you're on my profile, you might not see some of these, and they're secret because they're kind of not related to my niche. You can see we have sneakers here, which isn't related to my niche, but something that I'm interested in. And so I keep that on a secret, and we'll cover that in a little bit. But basically it is a way for you to organize all of your ideas inside of Pinterest. And one of the most common ways that people can find boards or search for boards is inside of your profile. You can see if you come over to the saved inside of someone's profile, you can scroll down and you can see all the boards that they have listed that are currently public, and you can go through and look at their boards. Like say that you wanted to also do some furniture restoration, you can click inside of here and you can look at all these different boards. Now, another way where boards are used that a lot of people sometimes overlook is also in the search bar. So if I come over here and I'm looking for activity books for kids, make sure I'm on all pins here. So you can see right now, this is just searching specifically by pins, but a lot of people like to use the boards as a specific search feature. So they'll come over here and they will actually search by boards. And if you apply this, you can see now instead of just giving me one like individual pins inside of Pinterest, it's actually giving me a bunch of different boards. So if I wanted to go into here for activity for books for kids, you can see there are almost 600 pins in here that I could quickly look over and find inspiration from this specific creator or like a curated board. And another place where boards can show up that I think a lot of people underestimate as well is inside of Google search. So I typed in here electric fireplace ideas modern, and you can see right here, this is a Pinterest board that is showing up. So when I click on here, it takes me to this specific board. This works for Pinterest pins as well, but having a board also gives you another opportunity to show up in Google search as well, which gives you even more traffic to your Pinterest profile. So now you kind of have an idea of what boards are and how they show up. I want to actually show you how to create a board. Now I'm going to be doing this on desktop, but you can do this on your phone as well inside of Pinterest if you want to do that. But if we are going to be creating inside of the desktop, what you do want to do is click on the saved right here, and then you can click on create, and then we want to come over to boards and click on the board. Now inside of here, there are a couple of different settings, and these are settings that you don't want to ignore. The first one being the name. Now when it comes to the name, you do want to name this something that actually is searchable, that has SEO juice, if you will. And if you aren't sure exactly how to find keywords or anything like that, I have a full tutorial on how to find keywords for boards or even trending board topics that you can do. You can check a link to that down below, but you want this to be descriptive as possible, but not like too descriptive. As I mentioned, some examples of boards that have worked really well for me is, I'll give you 3 examples here. So one is 4-hour home improvement DIY. Now this is a very, very niche topic, and this is for somebody who is looking specifically for home improvement projects that are short and fast. So you can see this is kind of more of a long tail strategy for a board, and it works really well. But you can see the next one is kind of the opposite. It's just DIY house project. It's just a very super broad board. You know, a lot of people will be searching for, but it's not very niche. The third one here is also a very broad board. So I bring up this example to show you that there are ways to niche down in boards, and then all boards that are very broad can also do well inside of there. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is the content that you're putting inside of the board, but naming it the right way so people have the right expectations is super important. So for this example, we are going to be using DIY painted accent walls. I like this one because it's a niche term. It's very descriptive. You know exactly what you're going to get when you look at a board like this. And then also what I like to do before I name my board is I will give it a quick search on Pinterest. So what I like to do is type it into the keyword that I'm looking for. So DIY painted accent walls. And you can see it's showing up here as a suggested term, pretty high, which means there's probably likely high search volume for that. So I'll just do a quick search for that. Like I said, if you want to learn more about keywords, I have a full tutorial on that, but we're going to come back over here. We're going to name it this. And then this right here is what's called keep this board secret. This is what I mentioned before. If you wanted to create a board that you didn't want it to be public facing, you could check this box right here and nobody inside of Pinterest will see it except for you. So you can see in my example with these sneakers over here, I have these sneakers and there's this little locked profile right there. And that means only I can see that because my profile is about home improvement, not about sneakers. So I don't want somebody coming to my profile and be like, oh, he's got sneakers here too. I'm a little bit confused. So you can use that for whenever you need to, but I would recommend keeping most of your boards public, especially if you want people to actually see the pins inside of them. The next thing here is you can add collaborators. So this is really helpful if you wanted to invite some industry leaders into your board to also put pins inside of them. To be honest, this is a feature that I don't use all that often. I like to be able to have the most control over my boards and to be able to pin things inside of them and not have people putting like random stuff. But if there's somebody that you know is going to create good content and put it inside of your board, then you can invite them and add them here. But for this one, we are not going to be inviting anybody. Then from here, we can hit create. And then you can see now we have a little suggestion here where Pinterest is going to ask if we wanted to save some pins to our boards. Now, this is a common misconception I think a lot of people have, is they think for your boards, you only have to pin your own content to that board. And that's just simply not true. Now, there may be situations where you don't want to pin other people's content into your board. But for me, a lot of times I will take existing content that is inside of Pinterest that I find inspiration for, and I will put them into the board, especially for something like this. If somebody is wanting to look for inspiration on a DIY painted accent wall, then chances are they're going to want to see all different accent walls. And the more accent walls I can put in front of them, the higher that board is going to rank. And I just can't do that many accent walls. I can't take that many pictures of accent walls, or I can't actually build out that many accent walls. So it's nice to be able to take some of these pins and add them to the board to kind of start the board cooking, if you will. So I'm going to look through some of these, and I'm just going to find maybe 10 or so pins to put inside this board. Now, like I said, this is optional, but it's a great way to fill out your board and get it kind of going and getting some authority on it. And in order to save them to your board, all you do is click this and then it will save it there. And we're going to scroll through. I'm going to grab like 10 or so and we'll come back in a minute. Okay, so I just quickly went through and added, you can see 15 pins right here. So we're going to hit done. And then you can see all of these pins will be inside of here. Now you can add as many as you wanted inside of this board. And now a lot of people are asking me, well, what's the point of this board if all these pins are going to other people's traffic? And yes, that is true. If somebody clicks on that and visits the site, it will go to their pin or their website. But what we can do is we can actually now create our own pins inside of here, and we can move the pins around, as you can see, to make sure that our pin is showing up first. Now, before we go and actually create a pin to put it inside of a board, let me talk about some other things that you're going to want to optimize inside of your board while we're here. Now, I don't know why this is the case, but when you're doing this, it doesn't give you the option to give the board a description, and you'll for sure want to go back and add a quick description once you've created the board. In order to do that, click on these three little dots right here and then hit edit board. Then you can see my face right in the middle here. We're going to move this back over here. From here, you can add a board cover, and then you can also add a description. Now, the board cover, basically you can grab any one of the images inside of here, or you can upload one directly if you wanted to, or you could take one of the pins and put them in there. Now, for this particular board cover, I want this to actually be my pin. So I'm going to upload the pin here in a little bit, and then we'll come back and change the cover. But for the description, we want to make sure that we add a nice description here, that it makes sense for a human, but is also SEO optimized. Okay, so you can see here, I like to have it around 2 to 3 sentences. I just said, get inspired with easy and affordable DIY paint accent wall ideas that instantly transform any room. From geometric patterns to modern color palettes, these tutorials make it simple and easy to create stunning feature walls, perfect for beginners and weekend DIY projectors. So you can see it's an actual sentence. It actually makes sense, but there's also sprinkled in keywords inside of that description. And then once again, you can add the collaborators, make it secret here, or you can do the personalization to show pins inspired by this board in your home feed. We're going to leave all those there, and then we're going to hit done. Now, right here, there is this little organize tab, but we're going to come back to this in just a minute because I want to show you how to create a pin, and then we'll show you how to organize those pins inside of here once we're done. So we're going to actually now go and create a pin. So in order to do that, you want to come back over to your profile, and then you want to hit create here. And then once again, you can do this on the app as well. And then we're going to do a pin. And then from this point, we can grab our pin here. And this one is just a time lapse. This is me and my wife right now. We were preparing for a baby. And so we're doing some accent walls, having some fun. And she had this really cool idea here to make this geometric pattern. So I think this is a video that's going to perform really well. And now I got to go through and give this a title and a description. So we'll do that real quick because this is more talking about the board. Okay, so I just went through and gave this a title, description, added some of the alt text down here, and then the destination. Then what we want to do is this is where the board comes into play. So you can see right here, there's this little drop down, and it is going to have every board that you've created inside of your profile, and you can add it to any board that you want. For us, we want to find our DIY painted accent walls here. So we can grab this one. We're going to click in there, and it will publish this specific pin inside of that board. So we're going to hit publish here. We're going to hit publish immediately. And then you can see your pin has been created. So we're going to come back over here. We're going to hit see pin, and then here it is. And now let's go back and look at our profile over here. And we're going to come back over here to save. We're going to look at our DIY painted accent walls. And you can see here is our pin right here. Now I have the video here. I'm going to add an image real quick as well. So I'm going to come back, post that, and we'll come back into the board here in just a second. Okay, so you can see here, I went through and also posted an image. So now I have a video of this and an image. And I do recommend having a mix of video and image in your profile. I find that it helps me a ton with performance. But what we can do from here is you can see now we have the video and the image sitting next to each other. But let's say that I didn't want them to be right next to each other. I can actually grab this and I can move the board positions wherever I wanted to. And this is what I like to do with my boards is I like to add a bunch of different pins inside of them. And then on the very front row, the place where most people are going to be seeing is I will sprinkle all of my pins through like every other pin here. So not all of them are mine, but most of them are mine. That way, when traffic is coming to the board, it actually ends up going to my pins as well. And it helps the Pinterest ecosystem, if you will, because you're using Pinterest like it's intended. You're sharing different ideas and you're getting inspiration from other people, and it's all curated in one spot. Now, I mentioned we would come back to this organize tab because this is important as well. As something else that you can do here is you can click on this organize tab and you can do the same thing where you can move pins around. But more importantly, what you can do is you can select a bunch of pins here and you can actually put them into, as you can see here, into a section. And what that would look like for this accent wall specifically, you can see some of these are kind of like geometric patterns, some are square patterns. So let's say that I wanted like a geometric pattern. I know that not all of these are geometric, but you kind of get the idea here. We're going to do this and then we're going to hit create section. And then from here, we can name this. So we're going to call this geometric and then hit add here. And then you can see what's going to happen is it will actually create another little section here inside of this board. So if you wanted to create a board for accent walls and then inside of that have geometric accent walls, wood accent walls, slate accent walls, board and batten accent walls, you could go and do that inside of the board. Now the argument could be made that sometimes you may want to create separate boards for each of those just so it gets even more searchability. But for a lot of people, it's nice to be able to organize in there. To be honest, a lot of times I don't use the sections as very often. I prefer to create different boards for these sections. Like if I wanted one for geometric accent walls, I would probably pull that out and create a whole different board for those. But I wanted to let you know that that option is available in case you wanted to use it. Now, if you wanted to get rid of one of your sections here, you can see you can click on this and delete it. But once you delete this section, all of its pins, you can't undo it. So just a heads up there, once you delete that, you can't undo that and that will be out of the board. Now, when it comes to getting more engagement or more searchability for your boards, two things that are going to be really important, and that is quality and honestly quantity. Now, I found I have boards you saw in that example here, some that only have 65 or even 17 pins that get more impressions than boards that have hundreds of pins. So when you are looking at your boards, the quality of the pins inside of there are more important than the quality. Now, I say that, and I also say quality and quantity are important because if you have good quality and you have volume, then the chances of your boards getting more and more impressions are just almost inevitable at that point. So prioritize quality, but then also try to stay consistent posting on those boards because people don't want to visit a board that is 2 or 3 years old and isn't kept up to date with inspiration. So be prioritizing that. The second thing that I'll offer you for more engagement is that I would recommend trying to create boards that have upcoming trending topics. And if you don't know how to find Pinterest trends or to use the Pinterest trends, I'd recommend checking out this video right here. It will walk you through exactly how to do that, and we'll see you in the next video.